And everyone's safely home from NCAAs. I shouldn't say we. The meet lasted its duration. Since last time it was there, it did not. So round of applause on that. Definitely there was a whole bunch of round of applauses due for that whole meet, but we'll get to that later. As you can see, we do have a sixth tile this week. We will definitely get to this young man momentarily. So, Nostradamus, I don't think you can call yourself that anymore because you definitely did not predict anything at all. At all.
She really talking smack to me. I appreciate you saying that because it was on the tip of my tongue. Just saying.
I mean, you can predict that it will be a minute later in a minute.
Yeah. I mean, look, I did the best I could.
I know. Look,
this particular meet was darn near impossible to predict, right? So I can predict this. The show viewage just went up because Kai's on.
I know. Oh my God, he's so big. So Lucius, how are you today, sir?
I'm a little fatigued. Long weekend. Get back and you lose an hour. But other than that, I'm fine. Just ready to get outdoors where we live and breathe.
Is that a vintage Florida polo? Like a throwback, or is that the new F? Is that an old F? Is that AF? I don't know.
Wow.
I've never seen that F.
Wow.
It is an F, but I just know I've had it for a long time. I can't tell you what new, old, middle is. It's just.
Did you just pull the tag off of it? Did you just pull the tag?
No. I don't wear it a lot, but I have worn it quite a few times. I mean, I've had it for a long time.
That's funny. Governor, how are you today, sir?
Same here. The recovery period used to be somewhere between 12 hours and 15 hours. It's more like 48 to 72 now.
With cryo.
yeah. It's I don't want to mutter the words, but boy, it's good to be back. Good to be back.
We don't care about Clyde. We care about Kai. Kai, how are you doing, buddy? He's out.
The baby is home for spring break, and we have our first women's program All-American, so I'm good. Say something. Talk.
Hi, Kai.
He's like,
I don't perform for you people.
Right? He's like, who are you? Oh, yeah. All right. Well, last but definitely not least, our sixth tile. Oh, that was so cute. Our sixth tile. If you really don't know who Dan is as an athlete, like, I need you to check yourself right now. Like, you've been watching the show way too long to not know that he's not just a commentator. So, Mr. Dan Obrien, how are you tonight, sir?
I'm very good, thank you. And I too am happy to be home. It was a short flight getting back from Albuquerque, but it's an intense few days. Even for us calling the meet, we try to talk to a lot of people and get information and just to set everything up. But man, you get done, it's like, whew, all right, I'm tired as well. But I can only imagine if you're in the mix and you're coaching all those athletes. So I'm glad to be home.
Yes. Well, we appreciate you calling the meet. And I mean, it's so different watching that first broadcast on ESPN Plus. When it's just quiet and you hear all the background and you hear all the things dropping, whatever. Tell them, Kai. Tell them. They need somebody on the morning broadcast too. We hear you. But it's so different. So we appreciate you thoroughly. All right. So who's putting him through the ringer first?
The EP, because that's his job.
Really? You gonna start with me?
Yeah, I'll go first if you want me to. I don't have a problem with that. So,
I would prefer if you go first, sir.
Yeah. So I am excited for the resurgence of the multi-event era. Right? It's been a while. How do you feel? Let's start with Kyle Garland. And I know Aiden Owens is not American, but he's still a great multi. How do you feel they're trending as far as being decathletes, because I mean, being the hep indoors is great, but the deck is a whole different monster, you know. And as John Smith always says, there are no indoor Olympics. So how do you see these guys transforming and what you think their future is as far as being big time decks outdoors?
I think both of those guys are going to be really, really good. Aiden Owens, we saw him at the World Championships last year. The guy he reminds me a lot of Ashton in the way that he can really control where he finishes based on his running. You know, his 400 meters and his 1500 meters. If he needs to run a 415, if he needs to run a 415, if he needs to run a 420, he's gonna get after it and get it done. And his pole vault has improved. I was really amazed at how high he jumped at the NCAA meet. And, both guys over the existing collegiate record were exciting. But, I think certainly as a former multi and a former American champion, the question always is, who's going to be the next great American? And, Ashton kind of left the sport abruptly, he still had some time, and it was like, boom, Ashton's gone. And then it was like, wow, there's nobody there, but Kyle Garland is emerging. And when you put together his new long jump PR and his new hurdle PR indoors, I think it translates outdoors. Now all of a sudden Kyle Garland is a 8,800 point guy. Mm-hmm. He's no slouch in the 1,000 meters, which translates to the 1,500, I'm sure, pretty well. But I think Kyle Garland, he's got the tools. And what's interesting is Chris and I are both fans of the history of the decathlon. And I think that Kyle Garland, if you were to put a 22-year-old Kyle Garland next to a 22-year-old,
Milk Campbell.
Yeah, these guys are so much, these guys are so much alike, and it's just, he's in the mold of Rayford Johnson, he's in the mold of Milt Campbell, which is just, big, strong guys. But now he's got a level of technique that I think puts him years ahead of where Chris and I were at that age. That's what's really amazing about it. It's like, man, I didn't figure out how to throw really well till I was 24, 25. This kid's doing it at 22. So I'm excited about it. I think the most exciting thing is we got a guy that can compete. And that's what I'm most excited about Anna as well. It's like, now we got somebody in the mix who can compete with the best multi-event athletes in the world.
Yeah, let's not bite our tongue, guys.
No, I'm just gonna because I've got so many questions, but I'm just curious about how you feel about where track and field in the NCAA has gone, and I'm just gonna kind of lock it into the last 5 years and how things have escalated to the point where, many might argue that was one of the greatest indoor meets in the history of track and field.
Maybe
and we're talking about the NCAA.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm just curious as to, for those 2 days, as you're taking in those 4 sessions, what's going through your mind, and where do we go from here?
Well, first of all, where do we go from here is a great question, but how much better can they get, right?
Yeah.
To see that performance by Britton Wilson, and all of a sudden now it's like, man, Julian Alfred, is she, and you think it's like, well, now she's easily going to make the Jamaican team, and she's going to be a force at the world level. And but I don't know, they just keep getting better. And that's what's surprising, because there's a point when you just go, okay, you know what? College kids aren't going to run any faster, or they're not going to jump any higher. And all of a sudden it's like, Mondo rules the world. And it's like, man, somebody just jumped as high as Mondo did. And it's just amazing, and just to see these kids that are so good and it's the specialization, 100%. Coach Lawson at Kent, Chris, somebody we certainly know. He's somebody who's always great for a conversation, but I'm in the weight room at the hotel, and he's working out and I'm working out, and he's going, man, I got 3 pole vaulters that I've coached in the last couple of years where I was a much better athlete than they were. but they were just way better pole vaulters. And I think that specialization just speaks to, we all trained and cross-trained and became better athletes, but now kids are just great track and field athletes, you know, and that's what Michael was. Michael couldn't shoot a basketball. I bet he could barely hit a golf ball, but man, he could run. And right now the kids are getting identified at a young age. They're running nothing but track and field or coming over from one other sport, soccer, and they're professionals. I mean, I saw this was a professional track meet the last couple of days. It's like, oh my gosh, that is absolutely scary.
Okay. So that leads into my very petty question. Because you identified exactly what that was. It was a professional track meet. So as a person who's been through every level of this, you know, as an athlete, as a working professional in the field, what is it going to take for world athletics to recognize reality and treat these people and these particular competitions with the respect that they deserve? All the performances that just happened this weekend that were absolutely world class are not going to be given the distinction of world class performances with rankings and all these other things. What is it going to take?
Well, I don't think it could take any more, you know, or it's going to change quickly. Too many people are going to be up in arms about, you know, why can't these marks count towards, you know, qualification, ratification of records, things of that nature. You know, I am always a little, one thing that I don't enjoy is seeing a college athlete run an Olympic team with a different uniform on, but break a collegiate record. Okay. I think for you to break a collegiate record, you got to wear your uniform. Okay. And that's just one of the things I think about. But what's, you know, really cool now is these kids are wearing their college uniforms and they're breaking world records. All right. They're performing at the highest level, and it won't be long. It can't last very long. Otherwise people are going to be screaming bloody murder. And it's just hurting college track and field. We don't want it to be part of the conversation. These marks are too good to be ignored.
So you have been an athlete, obviously. You've been a coach, and you're now a very well-respected commentator. Which of those three jobs gives you the most sleepless nights?
Oh, sleepless nights, a commentator, 100%. All right. Because you can always, you want to celebrate the athlete. I think that I miss being an athlete. Why? Because you thought less. You wake up, you train, you know, and it's the greatest time of your life. You think less about anything else. And then you become a coach, and there's other duties, and you know, you worry a little bit about your athletes' performances, but ultimately it's in their hands. Okay. And you sit back and you have to let them do their thing. But as an announcer, it's like it's all a lot like being a multi-event athlete, though you never feel like you ever did enough. All right. You can always find more information. You can always talk to another athlete. You can always talk to another coach, and then you go back and watch it and just go, oh my gosh, what a great performance. I wish I could call it again because I would have said X, you know, and that's, I think, what makes really good commentators. And, you know, I know the events, but knowing the events is not the same as being a great commentator like John Anderson. You know, he describes the performance in such a poetic way. And, you know, I continually learn from people like that. And I think that's what makes for a really good commentator. Everybody's like, well, you know, Otto's not American. He's had this job for such a long time. When you watch the highlights, it's touching. He says the right things at the right time. And it's like, okay, that's the sound clip. Did he get the sound clip right? And he absolutely does. And so as a commentator, no, trust me, I work till midnight. And then throughout the night, you wake up once or twice and you got something. It's like, oh man, I got work to do. I got work to do. And that's how I felt as a multi-event athlete as well. It's, you know, going into a big meet. It's like, oh man, I didn't, you know, I could have done more work. I could have done more here, and here. So a commentator, 100%.
Well, I'm going to jump in on that, because would you say that the current format that we're using in terms of the schedule. I mean, I hearken back to the days of like there being an hour of features during a track meet. You know what I'm talking
Oh
about.
yeah, oh yeah.
And then we go to live, right? But somewhere intermixed, you're getting some sort of background information on ex-athlete and this and this and that. You're at their hometown, you're watching the day in the life, you're doing all of these things, and then flash forward to, okay, here he is on the runway for his first jump, da da da. We're now at a point where that is completely truncated, right? We're narrowing it down to a show that's 2 hours, right? And
Yeah.
on a weekend like this, how can you possibly address everything we just saw? I think for all of us, we're still processing all
Sure.
the things we just saw, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
and within the records and the medalists and the folks on the podium, like I had no idea that we just saw a brand new record for Florida in the 200. That is not a small, and I sent it out to the group text. That is no small feat.
And I'll ask you this: do we realize it was a world junior record set this weekend?
No.
No.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh wait, no, I did know that, but I don't think it's.
By who?
Miss Jones from Stanford in the long jump.
Mhm.
Oh my
Wow.
goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
No, it's seems like the school records and the under 20 records, and Caitlin, or Kayla Jackson from Georgia, she broke the under 20 record in the 60 meter twice.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's just that because of the national records, and there were so many things that got overlooked, and
It's blinding.
we thought we learned our lesson from SEC and Talitha Diggs breaking the American record. It's like, we're getting this information, it's coming at you so quick, and all of a sudden I get a text and it's Joanna Clark, and it's like, that's an American record. It's like, oh yeah, we were just in awe about the collegiate
Almost
record.
there.
It's like, oh, by the way, that's an
Yeah.
American record too.
Yeah.
So-
So that kind of bleeds into my question, right? Like, I think I'm keeping it in the collegiate perspective. I think the coverage of the collegiate aspect of this sport, led by ESPN because they put the most effort into trying to cover it, has gotten better. But now I was in the building this weekend, so I haven't had time to sit back and watch what aired, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where are we still falling short? What can we do to make it more appealing to the TV viewer? I mean, yeah,
No, and that's the
I think we
constant
missed the
question.
theater. I think we missed the theater of the field events. And the only reason I say that
Yes.
is there are, in almost every single field event, there is a yin versus yang
Mhm.
that doesn't get covered when it gets covered the way it's covered, which is here's who got third, here's who got second, here's who got first. But none of us complain about that. You know why? Because we all know 3 years ago it was here's who got first yesterday, and it's not even a video,
Yeah,
Right.
sure.
Yeah.
right? So we're way better than we used to be.
yeah.
Yeah, because you never get the backstory.
No.
Like one of the best stories of the entire meet is the freshman jumper from Texas, right?
Mhm.
She comes out, she off, and she jumps in the second. She takes her shoes off, and she's done.
Mhm.
Well, Claire Bryant goes past her. She puts her shoes
Yeah.
back on and goes back by her. And then she comes back and does the exact same thing in the triple jump.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exact same thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
See those are the backstories. We're never going to get those backstories.
I mean, you could have done a 30-minute segment on the women's triple jump, period. The
Oh
women's
my
triple jump
God.
is nuts.
Yeah.
Absolutely nuts.
But we're getting there. Okay. And what's interesting is, what was it 2 years ago, SEC indoor championships, I think it was Fayetteville. We John Anderson, Dwight, and I were on the live stream, and we just talked about the high jump.
Mm.
And we just talked about the pole vault. And so these things are happening, but for world championships, for Olympic games, you want dedicated coverage of the high jump, you can watch it. And
Yeah.
we are figuring it out at the highest level, but how do we do it one of the toughest meets is the SEC championship. There's so many athletes and there's so many new athletes.
Mhm.
All right. And it's just like, who are these guys? I'm in the 9th heat of the 200 meters. It's like, who are these guys? It's tough to, but I listen to people. And one of the things that, the best compliment I ever got was from the guys at Let's Run. You know what? During the distance race, if Dan Obrien doesn't know about it, he doesn't talk about it. And it's like, okay, thank you. And all those distance people, they want to just see the people go around the track.
Mhm.
They do. It's just like, I don't care if we got commentators or not. I want to see the race. And I think the same goes for the field events as well. I think there's an opportunity to, focus on them. It's tough in a track meet like this. You're never gonna, you might get a live look-in shot every now and then. The only way we could do that is to completely change the schedule, to really pace out those field events so that, after each heat of the 60, after each heat of the 200, it's like, all right, now let's go back to the long jump. Let's go back to the triple jump. And here's what's happened. And here's who's up. And, but it also takes there were great athletes here, but it takes some star power too, because when Javon Harrison was jumping, I can't tell you how many, we were excited because our producers was like, let us know when Javon's up and we're going to go back to the.
Wow. Yeah.
And so it was just like, he's coming up next. And it's just like, I don't care where we're at in the 3,000 meters, but we're going to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
So stuff like that, but it's producers. Sean Murphy at ESPN, who hires all the talent. He's doing a wonderful job, but he also controls the how we, what we're looking at. But, the long gone, I mean, Ralph Millay, God rest his soul, he passed away, but he was doing track and field kind of old style. Now we've got some young producers who are saying, hey guys, what do I need to show? Hey, you know what? We need more field events. How do we figure that out? But I think as a sport, I think we can showcase the field events much better. I mean, there's been all kinds of conversations about, let's put field events in a smaller venue, like a tennis size venue, and let's just watch high jump, long jump, pole vault. Let's, let's have a throws meet, things of that nature. But, I'm fortunate that, Olympic trials, Olympic games, world championships, I'll get a call and they'll, hey, we just want you to cover the multis. It's like, oh, brilliant. I love it. And we get every jump, every throw, every run. It's like, that's the kind of coverage I like. But, I think it's a fight when you are paying for 2 hours of television time. But Kareem, I'm with you. I used to watch the pin relays, and in 90 minutes, they'd show 4 races and an hour of, an hour of Marion Jones' life and, all these cover stories. But that used to be NBC's, they wanted storytelling.
Right.
And I think that's what makes the Olympics really good. That's why I watch the Winter Olympics, and the 4x10K is, it's drama, but that's Olympic coverage. But that's NBC. It's like storytell. It's just like, man, there's too many stories this weekend.
Exactly.
Wow. I mean, you literally just let us know about some conversation that no one knew about televising field event meets. That's, I don't know, that caught my attention. That'd be crazy. Which do you feel like you prepare for more? I mean, obviously you practice for training, or you train for a competition, obviously, but like commentating, coaching, or competing.
Competing for sure. Okay. It's you, people, I tell people, when I was the best in the world, I cared about it the most. Okay. And that's just, I have, I have stories like, I love I don't love it. It's sad in a way, but Arnold Schwarzenegger wins the 7th Mr. Olympia, and he tells a story about his father dying, and his mother says, are you coming home for the funeral? And he says, no, I'm a month out from Mr. Olympia. I'm getting prepared to win my 7th title. And, they actually had a service at a later date, and he was able to join them. But, when I was a competing athlete, I didn't go home for Christmas breaks. I trained on Thanksgiving morning, and I cared about it the most. And I didn't have super serious relationships. I'm always amazed at guys who get married very young, and sometimes it's great and sometimes it isn't. But it's like, man, I when I was there and I was the best in the world, I couldn't own a dog. I couldn't, I forgot people's birthdays, and especially people close to me, and I didn't go home for Christmas and things like that. So that was, and the word that I always use is like, if you're not ready to sacrifice, then I just don't think you can be the best in the world. That's just that. I think that's the way it is in anything, though. Especially now, and this sport doesn't really matter, if you are at that level. And I loved it, when Tiger Woods was at that level, man, you knew it was the most important thing. I have a lot of respect for coaches, and I credit Steve Fritz and Chris, because I was out of the sport for a little while, and I saw these guys coaching, and you know what it made me think. It's just like, I love to watch them coach. I understand why they're in the sport, and I got back into the sport, and that's when I volunteered at Arizona State University. And it was just like, because it brought me around all those guys again, and it was like, oh, I know exactly where I need to be, and that's in the sport of track and field. And when you find a coach that's more dedicated than the athlete, or as dedicated as the athlete, that's the person you should be with. All right. I had people around me like that. I know Chris did. I know y'all did at some point, but I think that's what's most impressive about coaching is, to see somebody like Coach Holloway, who is every bit as invested in his athlete success as they are. And that's hard to do. So what do you do? I mean, I will always say, look, the time I was an athlete was the time I enjoyed the most in my life, but probably the next was when I was coaching, and I was able to help those kids reach that level. Helping Jackie Johnson at ASU make an Olympic team was so satisfying to me. And, if I can't do those two things, then the next best thing is announcing. The next best thing is talking about the sport. And I really like that. The easiest job is, probably John Anderson's job. He sits on the infield and he interviews people,
Yeah.
Don't let him, don't tell him I said that.
It's throwing me off that he's not wearing glasses anymore. I get it, and that's super awesome. But when the last couple of times I've seen him, he hasn't had his glasses on, and I know he had his surgery, and I'm like, something's weird. So sorry, that was completely random.
No, I agree. His face looks, it doesn't look wrong, but it definitely you're so used to glasses that it just, I agree.
Throws me off.
So I'm just gonna, I don't know how much longer we have, but I just want to know, like, when will we, or have I missed the backstory on Dan and Dave? When are we going to really truly know, like, the history of that, and how, I mean, people nowadays just don't understand, like, how invested, there was a point in time where shoe companies, the media, that sort of thing, were truly invested in the little things, right? And I wish there was some way to bring this to light, to get people to understand what that era was like.
So hopefully we'll get a chance to see that. So before COVID, a writer came to myself and Dave Johnson and said,
Wow.
"Man, I want to write a script. Will you give us the rights to do so?" And so Dave and I signed a contract, and this guy wrote a script, but COVID happened and we never heard from him for 2.5 years. And then after COVID was over, he was just like, I got some people interested, and he needs to create interest before he writes a script. But he spent, 2 solid days with me, and we went to a Suns game, and I got to know him real well. He lives in LA. Mm-hmm. I met him when I was actually at the Milrose games in New York one year. But he calls us up and says, "I got a production company that's interested in making the movie, the Dan and Dave." And I thought, hey, I got.
Is it going to be a 30 for 30?
We did it. So we did a 30 for 30 for ESPN podcasts.
Oh,
all right? And you can find that.
Okay.
So it's cool because Steve Miller from Nike is on the podcast, and he talks about fighting against Dan and Dave. But so Religion of Sport is the production company owned by Michael Strahan and Tom Brady.
Okay.
And so they bought the rights to the Dan and Dave story.
Oh, man.
Now he has to raise the money to make the movie. And I thought, I've always thought a documentary would be great for Dan and Dave. And he's like, no. I don't want to make a documentary. I want to hire young actors that play Dan
What?
and Dave. And I'm just like, wow. And he's like, well, who do you want to play Dan? And I was just like, man, I don't even know. It's just such an odd thing to think about. But I think one way or another, we'll get a Dan and Dave story. Whether it's a documentary, but you can hear the podcast on ESPN's podcast. But it was a great time.
Yeah.
We were fortunate. We were the first reality stars, unfortunately.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
folks just need to know that.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. It's not a matter of whether it came out roses or not. The fact is that there was a point in time where the media, whatever, had been captured by this, and they wanted, and Reebok wanted to bring this to take advantage of it. And it's so rare. It's so rare in our sport that we got to know that, yes, these things can actually happen. Millions of dollars can actually be dumped into something that people are enthralled by, that are, just taken by. That was an awesome time, man.
Dave and I got to walk in Tom Brady's shoes for 9 months. I mean, seriously. I mean, we sat courtside at the Laker games. We filmed those commercials. We signed autographs for hours at card shows.
Yep.
And funny, I tell young kids this, and I said, man, we were so famous, we went on Arsenio Hall.
They're like, who's that?
And their kids are like, who's that? And I said, Eddie Murphy's best friend, and they're just like, no clue. But it was, we got to experience that. But I'll tell you what's interesting is every day that Dave and I did those commercials, he and I wish we were on the track getting ready.
Mm-hmm.
He and I wish we were preparing.
Yeah.
And that's the trade-off in all of this. Can you handle this, and can you put it with that? But and everybody's like, well, Reebok lost because nobody won. You or Dave didn't win the gold. It's like, no. Still to this day, that 2 quarters of Dan and Dave leading up to the Olympic trials, from a percentage standpoint, is Reebok's highest grossing time.
Think about that, right?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Love it.
That's awesome. Well, Mr. O'Brien, thank you so much for joining us. That, literally little gems were dropped, and hopefully everybody heard them. But it was amazing to have you on. So thank you for taking the time out of your night to hang out with us.
Hey, thank you guys. And I just want you to know that, it was interesting. I just randomly listened to Gill Athletics podcast with Dan Pfaff. It was the first one I listened to. Mike Holloway was next. And then I just somehow saw the LLC show, and I was just like, I'm gonna listen to that one too. And I just, looked for a particular guest, and I was like, I don't just want to hear the 5 of you. I want to hear it. No, I'm just kidding. I
People don't.
But I love the idea of talking about the business of the sport. Talking about stuff that people don't know about, and get somebody on here from USA Track and Field, like, Wallace Spearman, because he tells people about the resources at USA Track and Field that I don't think a lot of people understand and realize, and they're, somebody from the foundation about grants and how do you get a grant, and, because grants have been saving people's athletic careers forever, stuff like that. But I appreciate you guys talking about the business of the sport, and I'm a loyal listener now. So thank you guys.
Love it.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Love it. Well, you enjoy yourself. And if we don't see you on the big screen soon, I'm sure we'll see you in person at a meet soon. So
Texas Relays, baby.
Oh,
All right.
there you go. See you in a couple weeks.
Bring some sunscreen. Bring some
Oh
sunscreen.
my God.
Okay. I will.
Oh.
See you
All right,
guys.
have a good night.
Take care,
Thanks
Dan.
for coming on, Obi.
Oh, that was awesome. I didn't realize he was going to Texas Relays. Whoops. My bad. All right.
All right, Chu,
So,
how ugly was
I
it?
know. I was like, so this is what we're all really here for. Put it this way. So I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to tell on myself to the fans. I literally just added up the points. It's been a really busy week. I apologize. I know. I actually got the in your memories from Facebook, and the scores from years ago had popped up, and I was like, shh, I didn't do the scores yet. Damn it. So, okay. There are a lot of zeros.
I'm about to say if you tell me anybody scored, I might call you a liar because I need
Oh
proof.
no, there's a score. Okay. So for the men's in wait, is it ascending order going from lowest to highest? Governor wasn't on yet, so he has no points. So that's an easy gimme. Scoring a whopping 5 points was Clyde.
Yes.
But here's the ringer.
Oh,
Scoring
God.
10 points was me. But
Oh,
pulling it out by the gray hair in his chin with 11 points.
Wow.
I'm not even gonna call you Lamar, just Huffins. Like you don't get to be Lamar Thomas with 10 points. No.
Wow,
I keep
that's
telling
terrible.
y'all.
Listen,
A,
listen.
a broke clock is right twice a day.
Hey,
So-
listen.
Listen, guys,
I
I'm
will
saying right now,
congratulate you on the win.
you don't have to. Because I
Just
didn't
for
congratulate
context,
myself.
just for context, 11, 10, and 5 out of how many possible?
Oh my God, right.
A billion.
Listen, if she had look, I didn't remember all my picks, right? But I'm watching the meet and I was like, man, I don't think I got none of this right. If she
Right.
had told me that I was last and had 0, I wouldn't even have fought it.
Right.
Oh, gosh.
See, like at this point, we had to have Dave on the show. Dan, wow. Sorry, my bad.
Yeah,
Sorry,
one
you
of
can
them.
throw something at me. Dan on the show because there is 11, 10, and 5.
Hey,
So
but you know
Fire.
what?
What happened on the women's side?
All right.
As the internet would say, a win is a win.
I mean,
Touche.
all right. So again, in ascending order, the governor had joined us on the show and praise Jesus, he scored 5 points. he got in there. He got in there. For a tie at 19 points.
Oh,
For a tie at 19 points. Clyde and Huffins.
stop it.
sit
2
at
beat us.
second. I sure did. And
The world is tilting off its axis right now.
the
How much did you get?
humdinger was high jump because I said Lamar was Destin was going to win and Riley Anderson was taking second. That was the high point scoring.
Oh, there you go.
Wow.
hmm
So
That
you got
to
how
be
many?
tied
How many points
I
did
had-
you score?
27 points. I'm sorry, I didn't
Wow.
Oh,
say
she crushed
So-
us.
Oh, so Chu won the overall.
Yeah.
Clyde, you actually had the other I'm sorry, there was 2 other 8-point scorers. Huffins in the hurdles, you had Akira winning and then McCormick taking 3rd. And then Clyde, you had Willis winning the 800 and then Josie Whitaker taking 2nd. That was the other 2 8-point scorers, but that was it. That was it.
Mm, mm, mm.
Yeah, that was brutal.
So hold on. The money makers. The funny part is the conversation of what the men's mile was going to end in was definitely there because it was 403 and you guys said 405, 407. We were off by 8 seconds.
Yeah,
Oh.
like
I
this
won
whole
that one.
this 359 mess. I'm like, that's never gonna happen. So
I won that one.
Well, you didn't win. It was
That's
Yes,
a
I
wrong.
bonus
did.
point though.
No, I wasn't wrong. If you remember, I said that night, I said, like, look, I was going to say like 402 or 403. I was like, well, why mess with that? I'll just go one more
No,
than
but it
y'all.
was no. We did the
You-
raw time,
you
so there was
had to
no
predict the winning time. Nobody
exactly.
was
There's
close
no
to that
prices
well.
right. We priced our prices
Yeah, you
right to
made
each
it price and
other.
right, but it wasn't.
Yeah,
price and right.
there was no
Well,
price right.
I would like to know if you converted for the altitude. I feel like I'm the closest.
Yeah, right.
Couldn't be.
Wow.
All right, so
Oh, man.
we had big fat X's for the event time with new records, like not even close, not
Yeah.
winners,
Yeah.
nothing. So crazy.
I should have
So-
gone with my
so
first gut.
officially,
I should have gone
Chu-
with my heptathlon first gut.
So what has officially happened here, as I understand it, is Chu has officially won the overall title for the worst contest we've ever done.
Take it.
What was
Take
your
it.
total, Chu? 37?
27.
27.
Oh wait, my total was
37, right?
yes.
Yeah, 37.
And
Oh,
I had 30 Oh God.
Chu is the master of the short bus this time around.
Getting where you fit
Wow.
She's in a munchkin in the land of midgets. Yes.
True. I put it like this, and this is the essence of competition, right? You want to beat everybody when they're at their best, right? Right? That's what this is about, right? This is not what
Thank
this is
you.
about.
Yeah, that's not. I would say that is not.
It is.
That is not what
He
happened here.
made the best educated guesses, and my educated guesses were best. That's all I gotta say.
Oh god.
The
Oh, my
educated
gosh.
part is not here.
Oh, man.
Oh
mean,
my goodness.
You know what's funny about this whole thing? Me and Clyde are sitting in the stands, and we're literally talking about how we screwed up our picks. And there are people around us that are like trying to get into the conversation. Because I don't even know if, Clyde, you realize like you were just speaking out loud. You were just
Oh
like,
yeah, for sure. For sure.
and it was like being at a football game and your fantasy points are just going down the drain. Just
That's right.
just going to hell. And I mean, literally, Sir Lucius, like this
It was
is
bad.
the conversation we're having in the stands. And
was
people
bad.
really don't understand where we're going with this.
Well, I will tell you this, that watching the semifinals of the women's 200, I was like, oh, Lamar got drugged.
All right,
That
listen,
that
okay,
literally
I'll
came out
tell
of
him
my mouth.
myself. I'll tell him myself. That night, I scrolled through 4 heats and didn't scroll through the last heat. Right. That's how all of that nonsense happened on the women's 200. But
Oh, man.
either way,
And
I
I
wanted to
will
pick
tell
her to
you
win.
this,
I
either
would've picked her
way,
in a second anyway.
you got drugged and we're done.
Oh yeah,
Whatever.
you definitely got the gold medal for the worst pick of the competition. You definitely got that one. You definitely got that one.
I mean, sure. It's easy for you to say.
Man.
Yeah.
How funny would
What's-
that have been? So, like, let's just say, for poops and giggles, that Dan watched the show on Friday night,
Oh
and
man.
and had he like made a reference,
Wow.
Oh,
like,
Yeah,
oh,
that would've
Lamar's
been-
picks.
That would've been some
You know.
roasting.
Hey, it's gotta happen at some point. It's gotta happen.
Yeah.
Oh,
hey, listen,
man.
I had the worst pick, but I am also the only one that picked Akira to win. So
You are
Oh, wow. That what we're doing
just
right
saying.
again.
now? That
Yes.
what we're doing right now?
Yes.
clock that's
absolutely.
dead.
So all of you clearly picked somebody that won. So because you got drugged, then you're gonna pick Akira. And she wasn't even. We're talking about the 200, and you want to go to the hurdles. That's terrible.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Okay,
you know,
call-
if,
call it
what you want to.
in my old man opinion, best NCAA meet I've ever seen. Just
Yeah, man.
off the chart, crazy. Just pick an event. I mean, like somebody said to me today, 50.5 was fourth in the women's 400.
Unheard of.
You know
So-
what? That's interesting. I think it was by far the best women's NCAA I've ever seen.
Mm.
I don't know about the men. I don't think I can make that argument for the men. The men were fantastic, but the women were just so overwhelmingly phenomenal.
Well, I think the women,
It's like-
the women, because the women went first,
Mm-hmm.
right? So because I mean, but overall, the men were good. They weren't as deep as the women. No, they were not.
Right.
But I was talking about the meet as a whole, not separately. Just the meet as a whole.
Sure, I got you.
Just because the
mean,
men,
well,
there
wouldn't
was some
you say-
good stuff. There was some
And
good
then
stuff.
wouldn't you say because
I
of
just
the
think that the
nature-
men kind of got overshadowed in your
Mhm.
minds because, like, listen, the collegiate record in the 60 is 645, 646 1, right? Collegiate record in the 200 is 2001 with 2011 1,
11. Yeah.
right? Collegiate record in the 400 is what, 4457,
Mm-hmm.
right?
44-7-1.
44-7 1. Like, what are we talking
Yeah,
about?
45-0 was third.
And let me just say this so that
Yeah,
everybody understands this.
2029 was fourth in the men's 200.
2029.
Well,
Come on,
here's the
man.
crazy thing now. There was a time when 303.5 was a collegiate record. 303.9 was 7th or 8th in the men's 4x4.
May we pause for a second about the men's 4x4? Listen.
Has there ever been?
Look, there were only 2 official DQs in that race. There should have been 6. That was as fast as it was on the top end, to Lucius's point, that was an abomination of rule violations. Everybody should have been disqualified.
You
Just
know what's
DQ everybody.
interesting? The last time I saw a 4x4 like that was in New Mexico. In New Mexico. Was it Texas? It was Texas. And the
Might have
men's
been.
relay. Where
Yeah,
there
it was
was
Texas and Oregon. Where
Oh
she ran her
my
down
God.
2014. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm talking
But I mean,
about from the ridiculous to the I respect it, but it's still a DQ. The kid from
yeah.
Georgia threw no more than 4 chest blows
Oh
on
man.
the
Yes.
first lap.
Yep.
Hey, I respect it, but you gotta call that.
He got away with it.
Yep.
Yeah, he got away with
mean,
it.
They called
there was
the
a-
Mississippi State guy in the 800, right?
Yeah, they called that,
for,
but they didn't call
for
it.
drifting. He didn't even touch the guy. He just drifted that way.
And you know what's funny? If dude doesn't fall, I
No.
bet you they don't call it.
No, exactly.
Because the thing is, he impeded him, but he didn't impede him and he didn't push him. But dude fell down.
Here's
So
my
it-
Yeah, I don't think he needed to fall down.
here's my
No.
thought. My man is from England. He knows how to fall. He knows what happens
Get
on
the
a
call.
football pitch. He knows.
Wow.
It hit them
It was a
soccer
soccer
rules real
flag.
terrible,
fast.
Governor.
It was a soccer.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay,
That's
so
hilarious.
let's talk about some of the ridiculousness that went on in the championship. Like, you know, like you said, you open up and Alfred breaks the 60 record,
Mhm.
right? And then moments later, Jasmine Moore breaks the long jump record,
Yeah.
right? And then not too long after, the 60 hurdle records fall. This is all on the first day.
In the first
Right.
day.
Yeah, it was just
Finals.
ridiculous.
No, I
In the
tweeted. I
In
tweeted
the
out.
first day in the first hour.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I tweeted that out in the moment. I said 3 incomplete events and 3 collegiate records because
Right,
none of it's
yeah,
done,
yeah.
right?
Exactly, no more finals. Yeah,
The-
and
so-
I, you know, and I'm like, the surprise of the meet for me was Miss Taylor from.
no, I
Tennessee.
wanted to say that. I wanted
Yeah,
to.
wow.
So of all the things, like you can pick your favorite moment, right? You can pick, and I'm sure people will have been doing. I've been seeing it. Like, what was the best performance, right? I'm gonna tell you right now, the best athlete in the meet was Charisma Taylor.
That was
Like,
No.
oh boy.
Okay,
No.
Oh
okay.
boy.
No.
She podium in 3 different events. Who scored
I
more
mean, I
points
hear
than
you.
Charisma
But she,
Taylor?
okay, hold on a second. So she
Kyle
was 8
Garland.
points. Okay, she was 8 points in the
Triple.
triple jump. She
Triple
was 4 points in the long jump.
Was it only 4?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she
okay.
was 6 points in the 60 hurdles.
In the hurdles.
So she
But
scored
that's
18.
That's 3 different events.
No. The question, your question.
No,
is
you're right.
she
You're
scored
right.
more
I thought
points.
she was higher than that in the long jump. You're absolutely
Because
right. I thought she was sitting
Julian
at
Alford
22.
scored.
I thought she was sitting at 22. I thought she was sitting at 22. I did.
Okay, and here's the bottom line. Okay, you cannot overshadow what Julian Alford and Jasmine Moore broke the collegiate record of triple jump 6 times.
She broke the American record.
No, I'm talking about the collegiate record. And she broke the American
Sure.
record, but every one of her jumps was further than the previous collegiate record.
Listen,
Yeah.
you're not, you don't need to explain the Jasmine Moore thing to me. You already know, as far as I'm concerned, Jasmine Moore is the shining star above all from this competition.
Gosh.
But
Yeah.
Jasmine Moore, you know, I'm not gonna sit here and say I knew she was gonna jump 15 meters because I don't train the girl.
I did.
But
did.
right, but
I
I
don't
knew
train
she
her
was,
either, but I did.
right, but I knew she was. We all knew she was gonna come in there and get the double
Yeah.
gold.
So what I will say to you is that okay, Miss Taylor was the surprise performer of the meet, not the best
Yes.
performer. What you called her the best performer.
Yes.
I'm
She was
gonna
a
still
surprise
say
performer.
she was the best. Dude, 3 events. 3
Okay,
events.
3 events. Okay. Alfred was in 3 events as well. And Alfred broke 2 collegiate records and then came back like
Sure.
literally 30 minutes after and split 51 seconds.
No, Julian Alford was great, and the 4x4 is awesome. Charisma Taylor carried the Tennessee flag in that meet. Like,
Okay.
Carried it.
So here's what I'll say. I have been known to not necessarily always be on this person's bandwagon, right? But when he didn't win, but he did break what was the existing collegiate record in a heptathlon, and you come back and run on a 4x4,
hey,
That's
That was
not-
impressive.
that's different.
and you
Yeah,
know what I
again,
loved
we're
about
at
that?
the
He
same
did it
the
for
same
pure petty
altitude as all
reasons.
the distance
Oh,
runners.
yeah.
Absolutely.
He did it for pure
Absolutely.
petty reasons. I loved it.
Yep.
But
So,
at the end of the
here's
day,
I got a stat for
like,
you for this meet. 8:33 for 4th. That's the furthest 4th place long jump in the history of the sport
Yep.
indoors.
Right.
No, the whole meet was just crazy. I mean, like you said, the young lady from Stanford broke the world junior record in the long jump. She was 4th.
Yeah.
674 was 4th in the women's long jump.
Hey, the women's triple jump 8th place
Oh my
was 1397.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's-
what are you saying to your athletes? Hey, good
I-
on you. Very
I
good.
told my 7th place All-American I love you and thank you for setting it off. Because she jumped far first. Amelia went out there and put up the 13-9, and we were like, yes. And then three rounds later, we're like, okay, I hope she still gets All-American because this is getting ridiculous right now.
Yeah.
Oh
was-
man.
Just absolutely and positively wild. Like that meet was one of those things like whether you were a fan or a coach or an athlete, you were exhausted when it was over because so many things happened.
Mhm.
Like
So I have a
there was
question.
never a time for a breather.
So can I ask the panel?
Well,
For your-
Chu had a question first, ladies first.
Real quick. Do we think, and so this is stemming from a question that's in the comments, but it was something that I was thinking as well. So I'm going to kind of rephrase it. Do we think that the men actually had just an all right meet, and a more than okay meet, or a good meet that was overshadowed by a great meet?
Overshadowed by a great
There's
meet,
no
for sure.
question.
See, remember, and you know, because usually the men go first.
Yeah.
Right? But because of the time zone we're in, and then the prime time being on the East Coast when the women were going, the women went first.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's what that'll switch. This wasn't we'll flop back and forth. That was so the women would be in prime time. That's what that was about. And
Okay.
brilliant move this year because the women worked the primetime show. But like after the women's meet, it was hard to find something in the men's meet. But the men's meet opened up with Hibbert breaking the collegiate record in triple jump.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right?
so that was
You know?
that was my question for the panel, and like because there were so
Oh,
many
sorry.
moments, right? What was your favorite individual moment? Mine was the perfection of Hibbert being that walk-off petty. I'm gonna get up, I'm gonna take my half approach, I'm gonna bang out my 17, and I'm gonna chuck the deuces. Y'all got it. Go figure the rest of it out. Like that was amazing. That was amazing. If you were late, you missed the best thing ever. Like
The last time that happened, and I know Kareem will absolutely and positively resonate on this one. That is what Carl Lewis did in the '84 Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
Sure
The
did.
man took a long jump, literally went and clapped his sand out of his shoes, put him in the bag, zipped up, and deuced. He went and warmed up and do some other things.
Yep.
Wasn't it like they had to go find him for the award ceremony because he was off? Like I'm done. Y'all can't jump this far.
That was a phenomenal performance. I mean,
Mhm.
like the excitement of the men's long jump, you know, I thought was just incredible. You know, like,
And-
you know, it's kind of like with you, PJ Austin came down and went 801 on his first jump, and I'm like, I might not make the final.
Mhm.
You know, because those guys were just jumping out of the gym.
Well,
you know,
talk about
of the
coming
pit.
of age, Sir Lucius. I mean,
Oh no,
that
very
was
proud of
not
PJ.
lost on me. Okay.
Yeah, very proud of PJ.
801 and 653.
Yeah, and the crazy thing was like he's trying to take his next jump. I'm like, no, pass the second jump, go run the 60, right?
Right.
And you know, Nick, he's like, I'm not sure. I say, Nick, it's going to make the final. I wasn't sure either, but I had to convince Nick. I'm like, Nick, he's going to be fine. Go run the 60, you know. And then he ran 653, and the beauty of that was like he walked away like I do this every day, right? But I know inside he was just turning back.
Oh,
I
you
was so proud
You
that he kept his
know it.
composure. But like he looked up at the screen, he was like, yes, you know. But there was just things like that. Like I think we saw the real Terrence Jones this weekend. That guy's scary.
Yeah.
You know, like he was like running away at 60 meters. You know, that bows that's 9.8 outdoors, folks. I mean, that was
That's the
impressive.
first time he looked the same outside of Lubbock as he does in
Yes.
Lubbock.
Yeah.
Because that race, if you superimpose him on top of the 655 he ran at the Big 12 meet, they're the same. Like
Okay, I have a question
he would
for you.
look like he was
What-
running like a grown man against children.
Yeah. What was the upset of the meet? In the men's meet. In the men's meet. The upset of the meet.
Oh, man.
For me, it's Matthew Bowen.
No. Come on,
For me,
no.
it is.
No chance.
I mean,
No
I hear
chance.
you, but for me, it
Hey,
is.
look, okay, hold on a second. The upset of the meet is a guy from Clemson winning the 60 hurdles.
Absolutely.
No.
Are you
here's-
kidding me?
so-
He was the next Eliza. Let's not to get in the final.
Yeah, I understand he had a bad prelim, but the men's 60 hurdles had no star power. And when you
Hold on
went
a
into the
second.
final, it was
Hold on a
wide
second.
open.
That-
It was wide open.
No, look, I'm gonna let you ride that Matthew Bowling train because that's what you like to do. We're not gonna do that on camera. We're not. That is not the upset of the meat. It's
All
not.
right.
Well, okay, so let me I'll give a counterpoint to the two of you. I actually understand what Chuck is saying. The specificity of the word upset, right? No one thought he was going to win, so it's an upset victory. I also understand what Sir Lucius is saying is like, did not ne'er a person think the dude from Clemson was going to win the hurdles, but it wasn't necessarily a giant. It was the biggest surprise. I agree with you. I don't know about an upset because I kind of agree with Clyde that like, I don't know that any of us would have put any money on anybody in particular winning the hurdles.
Oh,
I was mad we had to pick
open.
it. I was mad we had to pick it.
Okay, well, I'm gonna let y'all.
But I wouldn't. Listen, I didn't.
I'm
I'm
just
not
like you. I have my
necessarily saying
opinion.
it is.
Look, there's no debate here. Like that, Clyde's is bowling, and mine's a guy from Clemson. The dude's out in lane 8 and barely made the final.
But
That's just my
Lucius,
opinion.
No, I get that, but and I'm not trying to mess with you. I'm asking you a serious question.
Mhm.
Who was the favorite in the men's hurdles?
Oh, I mean, clearly based on how they've been running, the guy from Colorado, Northern Colorado, the guy from NC State, the guy from there's 3 or 4. Oh, the other guy from Tech.
Okay, so none of the guys you just
both-
mentioned, none of the guys you mentioned were the number 1 or number 2 guys coming into the meet. That's the point.
The guy from USC was, and he was in lane 1, and he fell.
Right. Like there was no star power. It's not like
but then there's there's people that are surprised that Matthew won the 200, but nobody should be shocked. Hell, he won the damn thing 2 years ago.
Yeah, but this ain't 2 years ago, and the field was significantly better.
Yeah, but still, he won the race, but there's nothing shocking about that to me anyway. I mean, we know it's.
I want to get back to. I want to get back to the last question Sir Lucius asked, which was like the best moment or your favorite moment of the meet. And
that was my question.
And your question. Sorry,
his question.
Mine would be a tie. For one was uber petty and Clyde-esque petty. The pole vaulter from Princeton. Because he self-flex just came back from winning indoor European championships. Right. So unlike everybody else, he's jet lagged. Right. And then B, he has the competition 1 on misses and passes a bar. Yeah. Because who cares if I win at 590? I need to jump 6 meters. And he then actually said it on the commentary. He was like, the mark is what matters most. I was like, I don't think he's supposed to say it as a collegian, but I love it. Yeah. That and this. Kyle Garland was running for his life to not have history repeat itself and almost broke the world record. And I am telling you, I don't think he nor James, and I know the announcers, were not paying attention to that at all, because everybody was shocked that the man finished 6 points from the world record in the heptathlon, because all he was doing was making sure that he didn't get second again.
Once again, I cannot repeat this enough. There was not enough time to fully encapsulate what was happening. Like,
no, it wasn't.
There was not enough time. Things
even the events. Okay, like let's just take the mile where we weren't breaking 4 minutes, but the whole story behind the mile was the herd of Washington guys in the race, right? And so you're watching the Washington coaches, and they're praying and hoping that they can go 1, 2, 3, 4, because then they're a problem in the team title race, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then like immediately they go like whatever they got, and they were just deflated, right?
Yeah.
Well, those are the kind of things that were going on in the meet. You know,
I think
it was crazy.
I wanted to see Washington pull off this challenge the way they were doing it, but Washington's meet kind of fell apart the night before with the DMRs, because the DMRs disappointed.
Oh yeah,
yeah, they were
both of them.
But see, the thing with the DMRs is like nobody runs their best people. They didn't run their best people, right?
I get it, but you know,
so see, I don't think that they put their eggs in that basket. Their eggs were in, we're going to score 24 points or more in the mile. You know, that's where
what I love was how close the Drake kid came to winning it.
Oh yeah, he almost snuck up in there.
Yeah.
God.
Almost snuck in there and won it, and that would have been absolutely epic.
So like for me, the only way the Washington guys like do what they want to do, they got to go out and make it a 350 something race. And just
Yes.
man up and do it.
Yeah.
Because that's how they run.
Right.
You know, but when you make it like I don't know who this dude is from South Carolina. That guy was flying the last 200.
From Morocco, is he not?
Flying. Yeah, that dude was coming. You know,
Ain't
so
bad.
like so those are the backstories of the meet that just made it special. I mean, you think about, probably 3/4 of the building thought that Ophelia was going to beat Alfred in the 200,
Oh,
right?
right
Oh,
here.
absolutely.
Probably
and-
9/10 of that building.
And when she pulled up beside her and Alfred froze her, like it just took
Yeah,
the breath out of the
man.
building.
Yeah.
You know?
No,
Breath out of the building.
that was really it was like, because typically when you see Miss Alfred in a 2, that last 50, that finish, she
Mhm.
gets really tight and
Yep.
kind of falls to pieces. And the funny thing, I was thinking about this afterwards. All last year, the people who thought Ophelia would ultimately beat Abby, what you kept seeing is when the chips were down, she got a little tight and Abby didn't, and she never actually got close to beating her when it mattered, right? Well, you saw a repeat of that. All of a sudden, Alfred comes off the bend, off that final bank, and she's lifting and she looks amazing. And Ophelia was set up to get there. She
Yep.
just didn't get there.
Just didn't get there.
Yeah.
It was like, oh man, because at 100 to go, everyone's like, oh, Ophelia got her, and then it was like, ooh, wait a minute. And
Well,
honestly,
I mean,
the men's 200 was like that second heat, because the Stanford kid
200 was wild.
had it. The Stanford kid had it. He was in a perfect
Jody.
position and fumbled off the turn.
Yep.
Fumbled it off the turn. He had that thing.
I think the guy in lane 4 had it and he fumbled off the turn as well.
They both did. Sure. Wait a minute. They both did, but you know that being in 5 is an advantage over being in 4. It just
Oh,
did.
gosh.
So
that
All right.
race was fun
Seriously.
to watch. I have a question. Has there ever been a collegian run 44 seconds and not win?
I doubt it.
No.
But it happened.
Yes.
When did it happen before?
It happened in 2021. Guy from LSU won at 44.7 or so.
Oh,
and
Noah
then,
Williams.
and
Oh,
Right.
Noah Williams won, and then
That's
what's
right.
his name was second.
No,
Ross
but
was second.
hey, that was
and
an
in
under
that race because 45.1 or so was third in that race.
that was an undercut. Like that's one of those things where you don't know what will ultimately play out, but the fact that Willie ran as great as he did, won his heat, but
Mhm.
didn't get to challenge the 44.7. Willie's a smart, savvy racer. I think he could have pulled that off if they would have been head to head, but they weren't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's the disadvantage of running indoors. You know?
Yeah.
Sure.
And,
Yeah.
You know, I've had a pretty stern talking with Willie's coach, and we got to coach him better. So
Good job.
So would we say Cameron Rogers is a surprise on the women's side?
Okay,
Shocking.
really.
no, I mean it is. I mean, okay. So clearly I'm in the venue, but I don't know what's going on. And then
So,
and I feel my phone buzz. I look at the phone, and Clyde put in the text, I think Cam just fouled out. I'm like, Cam who?
Yeah.
I was like, Cam,
Yeah.
Like no way is Cam Rogers. But look, she just proves that she's human. But it also, you understand, they're gonna get it outdoors now.
Oh
right?
my God.
Well, now, so
her and Mo are going to be on this.
no, but so unfortunately, Cam doesn't have outdoor eligibility.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh yeah, this was her exit, and what was crazy
poor
is
child.
we're standing in the long jump seatings, right? So you can see the throws from there,
Yeah.
and it's Cam, so I'm definitely watching her. Her first throw, the freaking thing hit the 24-meter pylon, like it hit it, but it was barely out of bounds.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, ain't no thing. She gonna destroy this.
Yeah.
And then she couldn't get it in bounds.
Yeah.
She never got it in bounds. And it sucks for that to be her exit, but it's her secondary event. And she has nothing to apologize for.
Nothing.
So-
That's not going to taint her legacy as
not at all.
greatest
From
hammer
her
thrower.
head
But it was
coach's
definitely a
mouth.
huge shock, though. Huge
From her
shock.
head
Yeah.
coach's mouth, and this is how you know that an athlete is special. Her response was, "Well, that just happened."
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
brush it off
Moving on.
and move on. That's right.
Yeah. So I mean, I think
Yeah.
that, if people haven't seen the meet, go find it on YouTube or wherever. It's still on
Yes.
ESPN, I'm sure. Go watch it. And that's, especially like you said, the women's meet was just out of control. Like just, and then look, and then you ended with 321 indoors. I mean, what
Oof.
is that?
Okay.
That is a world record.
Wait,
It
What
is
is
no, no.
that?
it is
It's a
faster
world-
than
we
the
gotta-
outdoor
it's a
record.
WL.
Are they all
WL.
American? It's a world best.
world leader.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But here's we need to talk. We need to talk about this, right? Has there been a larger margin of victory in an NCAA meet ever?
Wow.
Nice.
Like
They won by 4 seconds. Yeah.
They won by 4 seconds, and
I
they didn't win.
agree.
They didn't win by 4 seconds at like 328. Like not that that's
Right.
that's slow. Like 425 shouldn't get beat by 4 seconds anywhere indoors.
But it did.
325.
Oh no, yeah. So that group
Clyde.
healthy, they going teens.
God bless you.
They're going teens outdoors.
So
Mhm.
Clyde, like you remember the little conversation we had when the gun was about to go off, and we looked at that certain team and said, "Do you know that was a school record?
No,
They ran
Yeah,
a
it
school
was.
record."
I did not know that.
And
That's really funny.
Once we're off camera, I'll give you the backstory on that as well.
Unbelievable. True.
So at the end of
True.
the day, incredible meet, just incredible meet.
It was. So, little backstory. Again, I wasn't in Albuquerque, so I was crying a little bit inside. I didn't get to watch any of it because of things that I was doing. But I did go to Nike indoors on Sunday when we were not in a dead period anymore, so don't call compliance. But it's funny enough. So I was taken because I had people stopping me and they're like, "We love the show." My wife, this one wife of a fan, stopped me and she said, "My husband watches you every night of the week. I swear to God." I said, "I'm sorry. I hope we don't annoy you." And she said, "No, it's actually entertaining. As someone who doesn't do track, like it's not annoying." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's good." But like they were telling me about the meet and they're like, "Yeah, well, they did mention the poor pickings, but just how amazing the meet was and all of those things." And so, we asked the question, was this the best meet ever? I think undeniably we can say that the women's meet was the best meet ever, right up to date. And the men's meet was good. It just wasn't
It
as
was
good
excellent.
as the
Yeah.
women. And
It was
so
excellent.
shout out to the tiles. We got a lot of praise this weekend. Well, at Nike indoors. I don't know. Next year I'll go to New Balance and see what happens. But
Well,
at
and
Nike was
we
good.
we should say, because I mean we don't talk about the high school scene for very obvious reasons, but just an overall bravo, because the high school kids went crazy this weekend too.
Yeah,
Yes.
they wanted some
Yeah.
attention.
Like, oh my God.
Insane.
They picked the wrong weekend to want attention, but they definitely were screaming for it.
Right.
Okay, that's enough. That's it.
Okay.
Hey.
Aren't we supposed to be doing the impossible next? We're supposed to be given a Bowerman watch list now or some nonsense?
Yes, we are, which is a very, very worthy conversation. I'm here.
Woo-hoo!
All right.
We have time, Q.
Do we have time?
We gonna make time for this one. We cutting out the
I was
other.
gonna say the EP is taking my job again, and I didn't get to mute him fast enough. Anyways, we'll make a mid-season Bowerman guest nomination, if you would.
Declaration.
I mean, obviously, but we'll make this a rapid fire.
Okay.
So
Yes.
men and women, right? Lamar.
I know. Hey, slow down. Am I picking winner or one?
You
Just-
gotta
just-
pick
just-
the dais and the winner.
Okay.
Well, last year we didn't pick the winner. We just put who we're gonna put on the stage.
Okay. I'm gonna say on the women's side, if you don't have a collegiate record, then you don't apply. So that's Jasmine Moore, Caitlin Toohey, Julian, Alfred, and
No. There's only 3 on the dais, sir. 3.
Yes.
But there's gonna be 4 on my dais.
No, wait.
No.
That's the whole point.
All right.
No, sir.
Who am I taking off the dais?
Yes,
I'm taking-
you got to play like the alphabet crew. Take somebody off the dais.
Okay. I'm gonna take Caitlin Tui off the dais.
Wow. And replace her with who?
Yeah,
Oh, I
other
didn't get
3.
to say my 4th. Britton Wilson.
You know, Caitlin
Am I
Tui's
do-
gonna be on that stage, though. You know that.
Of
right?
course she is. But that's
hell
why
yeah.
that's why I picked mine. Am I doing the men now, or are we going everybody do women and then everybody do men?
Oh, let's do everybody women and then go men. Okay, keep it straight.
Okay.
Sir Lucius.
I think I'm boycotting the Bowerman,
Matt,
but
as you should. As you should though.
it's the Bowerman's dead to me. Let's just put it that way.
a
We
stance.
understand, sir.
Take a stance.
We're gonna let him
Stance,
get away
yeah.
with that.
No, not at all. No stance taken. Pick 3 people.
Jasmine
Please.
Moore, Britton Wilson, and Julian Alfred. See how easy that was.
See, there you
But
go.
the Bowerman's dead to me. I'm just telling you.
It's all right. Anna Hall's gonna win it.
Jesus.
Wow.
Now see,
That's
that's just
funny.
gratuitous violence.
Okay. This is not rapid fire governor.
Gratuitous violence.
Yep.
The exact same as you. More
And me.
Alfred Wilson.
Ditto.
The distance crew is going to kill us all because not one of us is putting Caitlin Tui on the list. All right,
Okay.
Clyde, what do you got?
No. You decided to mention it and then kicked her off the list.
Exactly.
What happened?
Goes.
My Bowerman dais is actually quite simple, and we will all hearken back to greater days of the past. It is Jasmine Moore, and Jasmine Moore.
Jasmine Moore.
That is the dais. It's
Yes.
really not a conversation. Since we were omitted last year, I feel Jasmine should get all the seats and handle the trophy as is. But if you're telling me I have to put 2 others up there, you know what? I'm going to go against the grain. I'm going to put Caitlin Tui up there because as I understand it,
Oh,
it's a whole, encompassing
That's
thing,
fair.
right?
That's fair.
Right.
And she
So
won.
Kate-
And she won cross country. Yep.
That's right.
Yeah,
So,
Yeah,
that's
so
true.
Kate-
thank you for clarifying because I forgot about cross country.
That's right. So Caitlin Tui is on the dais, which means I now have to pick between the hurdler who basically broke a world record, and apparently there may be some ratification issues with Miss Bowles' record in relation to shoes, so she may end up with the world record indoors.
Wow.
Right? Or the double gold double record, right?
oh.
It's really hard, but at this moment, 2 is better than 1. So I would have to say Julian Alfred over Britton Wilson, even though I think what Britton Wilson did was more impressive and less expected.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right, to the men's side.
Same
I'm-
order. Oh, go ahead, Clyde. I mean, Kareem.
Governor.
I'm going to say Guttormson, Hibbert, Garland.
Who?
Thank you.
He said the first one really fast. You said what?
The pole vaulter.
Yes.
Oh.
Okay.
So I just call him Sandre. Like when they said his last name on the broadcast, I was like, who?
Guttormson. Guttormson.
Princeton Povo.
Yes.
Okay. And then you said Hibbert and Garland.
Dang.
Same 3.
Ditto. Literally ditto.
Well, I'm going Clyde on this. I'm not inviting anybody but Kyle Garland.
I mean, listen.
That's it.
For sure. Kyle Garland gets all of my votes if
That's
humanly
right.
possible.
And then I might invite Aiden Owens just because he was pretty dang on special too. So
Okay. Clyde?
Yeah.
The men's is actually more difficult, I think. But Garland, yes. Hibbert, yes.
And you're gonna disrespect the pole vaulter that tied the best pole vaulter in the history of the world?
I'm not gonna disrespect him, but here, listen, I'm not gonna disrespect him. It's just, you know what it is? It's a mid-season Bowerman, right? Sure.
Yes.
Put him up there. I
I
think
have a question.
I think by the end, there's there's potentially some talk of getting him off of there. But sure, put him up there.
Are they when he's on the Bowerman dais? Are they going to mention his European championship?
Exactly.
I
They
mean,
won't.
They're not supposed to, but
they're not
They're not
supposed to.
supposed to.
It
but
did
definitely
happen
happened
during the
collegiate
season.
That's funny.
Oh,
Nah, sure.
So wait,
yeah, that's fine.
Sir Lucius, if he was on Florida's team, would you have let him go to Europeans, win it, and come back? Okay, cool. I just always wondered if, like, part of him being able to do that is because he was on Princeton's team, but that's pretty awesome. I thought
we've actually, Jen LaCause went to Australia, made the Australian team, and then came back. And we decided to let her rest, but that was back in 2014, maybe. Yeah.
I mean, the true shout out goes
2012,
to whoever got his polls to Europe and back on time.
Yeah.
So didn't happen. They actually said it in the telecast or broadcast. Simon packed his polls for him in the US and brought them to Albuquerque. He had different polls in Istanbul.
See.
That's
no shout out, man.
That's that Princeton game right there.
That's his brother.
They outthought it.
Yes, they did. They're like, we got you, dog.
Chestnut checkers. He showed that all the way.
Mhm.
So I am gonna forego would you rather and just do roses for the evening to wrap up the show. I am gonna go first because I was at Nike and got stopped quite a few times. Shout out to the people first off who stopped me. Anderson, I just forgot your last name, sorry, but your final lap is his deal. Vaughn Devon and dang it, I'm so sorry. I can't say your athlete's name because that'll break the rules, but the father of. Thank you for stopping and letting me know, and now letting the gentleman know what our show does for everyone. Sometimes we get caught up in just doing the show and our banter and our topics and the things that we want to cover. And sometimes even in our circles, we don't realize the effect that we have of the conversations we have. But to those who are a little bit further out on the rings of our circles and maybe not even conjoined, our topics, our conversations actually resonate people and give them understanding and educate and further expose all parts of track and field. So this is a duo Harpy props to the Tiles for what we do and those who take the time to learn and listen to us, whether it makes sense or not sometimes.
Well said, Chu. Well said.
I'm gonna go second. I will not be long-winded, but I will be somewhat minimal amount emotional for these two people.
It's already happening.
My heartbeat props go out to two people who deserve to have good things happen in their lives. Both my father and my oldest son are long-standing, adamant Jets fans. And today, they got the first piece of good news in their lives since Joe Namath guaranteed they were going to win a championship.
Did they, though?
Today, don't listen. You are not going to sully this. You just mute him. Today, listen, the most important thing any human being can have is hope. And today is the happiest I have ever seen my 23-year-old child. And I know for sure it is one of the 3 happiest days that my 75-year-old father has ever had, because the first snap that Aaron Rodgers takes in a Jets uniform, he's the best quarterback to ever play quarterback for the Jets. So I just want to say congratulations and heartbeat props to two well-deserving fans who have they were ride or die with one of the worst franchises in the history of sports. They finally got something good to cheer about.
I'll follow that up and just say, heartbeat props to the Cowboys for getting Stephon Gilmore, and I'm just gonna just leave it there. Thank you.
He said thank you.
And cutting $10.9 million from the payroll with the weed smoking running back they cut today.
I've said my piece. I'm good.
All this false hope. An NFL false hope.
So wait, does that mean you don't even like football anymore now, Clyde? Because your guy is retired.
Oh no, I love football, and the GOAT has retired, probably. And we move on to the next thing. But I assure you.
So you a Chiefs fan now?
No, I'm not on.
Oh, I forgot. No, you like Justin Herbert.
I do like Justin,
whatever his name is.
But
Clyde, are you going to do your heartbeat props, or are you going to banter?
I'm happy to go, or you could go. It doesn't matter.
No, you go ahead, sir. No, you go ahead. Mine's is short and sweet.
Yeah, no, just too much false hope right now. This is killing me. My heartbeat props are short and should be pretty obvious. We had a great weekend in the NCAA indoors. Miss Amelia Solstron and Tyron Harris, TJ, my right hand up here, became the first women's All-Americans in the history of this program. Amelia got second team All-American in long jump, which was dope. But in the hardest competition ever, she found a way to be on the podium in the women's triple jump. She jumped 5 PRs to get it done. She is now number 2 in the history of Sweden for indoor women's triple jump. I couldn't have been happier. Bravo to her and TJ, her coach. It's just the beginning of what we are ultimately trying to build here, and I couldn't be prouder of either.
Yeah, I'm gonna give my RP props. One, I'm gonna give a broad brush to the many coaching friends that I have out there, especially some of the young African American coaches that just absolutely got it done last weekend. Did a phenomenal job. Obviously what Chris Johnson did was absolutely phenomenal. But I want to give a big shout out to one Mr. Michael Ford and the job he did at Baylor, and putting 3 guys in the 400 final. And as I said to him in this group, Quarter Mile U is definitely on its way back. So big kudos to Mike and the job he's doing, not just the 400, but the program as a whole. I think he's in his 3rd season there now. So great job, Mike.
This is a legitimate question. Even when Baylor was at the quote unquote height of their powers, did they ever put 3 in a final? That's really hard to do. That's really hard to do. I know they put 2 in a final. I don't remember if they've ever put 3. Like Mike was on fire this weekend.
He was.
Well, that was a fun one. That was actually a fun one. I don't know that we've had that much giggling and banter so quickly in a while. So thanks to Dan Obrien for gracing us with his presence, for dropping some nuggets. Tiles, there's always outdoor. There's always outdoor.
Oh, wow. You selling out. Rightfully so.
Oh, God. So everyone have a happy transition to outdoor this week, next week. And other than that, we'll see you soon. Have a good one, everyone. See you later.